Hello and welcome back to another movie review. As always, I'm Kelly, and yes, it has been a long while, unfortunately. I don't have many excuses except for screw Adobe. I'll explain that at a later date, but yeah, this would have happened. I would have come back and started doing videos again within about a year, if not for Adobe. We'll just put it like that. But hey, we're back. I got a new setup. I've got a new mic. I've got same camera, but better mic at least. And look at all this good stuff. I look cool, right? But hey, let's talk about a movie instead. And that movie, of course, is The Lion King. And it's a film. I know it's not really new to say that these live action remakes suck. I mean, they're the punching bags of the critical world right now. For whatever reason, people love them, and as long as they do, they're going to keep making them. But that doesn't change the fact that this movie in particular is one of the laziest pieces of crap I think I've seen ever. Like, this is going to be on my worst list, and it is going to be pretty high on that list, barring something actually, happens, which, please, for the love of God, don't get worse than this year. I swear, if you do, I might have to stop making videos again, just because, I can't handle that. This is, without a doubt, the worst of these live-action remakes. Actually, I take that back. This is actually a tie for the worst of these live-action remakes. It's a tie between this one and Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is offensively bad. It pisses you off. It keeps claiming that it's so much better than its original and it's a piece of garbage. This one is more just incompetent. This is depressingly bad. And depending on which one you really kind of lean towards, whether it's angry makes it worse for you or whether it's depressing that makes it worse for you, kind of is where it's going to tilt. This is honestly just so bad that I am torn because I can't tell. Sometimes when I'm angry, yeah, Beauty and the Beast will seem worse. But honestly, this is just so incompetent, and I had such a horrible experience in the theater watching this because the guy behind me would not shut the fuck up. It's just, I'll lean this way depending on my mood, I guess. But actually getting into the film itself, I'm going to change up my format a little bit since it's kind of sort of a soft reboot of my entire channel. I've been doing some streams. You should check them out. I'm still going to do the positives and negatives, but I'm not going to have like separate sections or anything like that. And this is going to be a lot more free ramble and less cuts, just to see if I like this better than the other stuff and if it keeps the videos coming out more consistently. So going into this, the one positive that pretty much everyone is going to say, well actually the two positives, but the big one is visually it's beautiful. It really isn't. Visually, it is quite breathtaking how realistic they made all of this CGI. And yes, it is CGI. This is not a live action remake. It's a photorealistic remake in which, yeah, sometimes there's shots where I swear they switch to just regular animals running about. That's how technically beautiful this movie really is. However, that's its biggest weakness, is that this is so realistic that everyone's a dead-eyed doll. They look like CGI cutouts that look with little mouths moving. That's it. It's so incompetent. It's so realistic. It's so technically impressive that they seem to have forgotten that your characters need to emote and express. You can give them the best voice actors in the goddamn world, and I'm not convinced that you did because you just picked a bunch of big-name actors who, well, Disney basically knows this shit sells from other kid films. I mean, just look at the fact we're getting a second Angry Birds movie in a couple weeks. God damn it. They just picked a bunch of names out of a hat like that, and they just threw them in there. And whether they give a good performance or a bad performance is a flip of the coin. Honestly, all of this CGI just looks like they took pictures of actual animals or footage of actual animals and just put the little black CGI mouth on them to do stuff with. It's just a YouTube blurb that from 2005. We've done this before. It doesn't look very good. Just saying, we were all making fun of it then. Why aren't we making fun of it now? But then you're going to get into the second thing that everyone's going to say is a positive about this. Timon and Pumbaa steal the show. First off, Timon and Pumbaa are remembered as being pretty central parts of the original film. So saying they steal the show, I mean, they're basically doing the same thing they did before, so I don't see why we're giving them more credit. But I will say the few jokes they did change did get some chuckles and laughs out of me, mostly because they just gave them Deadpool jokes. They're fourth wall breaking Deadpool jokes where, oh look, Seth Rogen's remarking on the fact that Simba apparently gained 400 pounds during that song sequence. Oh, that's clever. That's so clever. Oh look, Timon is remarking on the fact that the guy who's playing Simba now, who does a horrible job, is frankly still singing because the movie is still going. Oh god, these jokes are hilarious, man. Yeah, I'm honestly kind of getting sick of this humor because I just see it so often nowadays. Because look, you can have fourth wall jokes, and they're not. I'm not saying that Deadpool created that. I mean, Ferris Bueller did fourth wall jokes long before Deadpool did. In fact, Deadpool made fun of Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the original, if you actually stay till the end credits. But I am going to just say that I'm honestly not as impressed with this, because the joke still feels half-assed. Oh look, something bad in your movie, we're making fun of it's bad, that means it's not bad. No, it's still bad, it's just now you're trying to cover it up with a little bit of humor so that we won't notice. And if it didn't take an hour before they actually showed up in the movie, I might be more inclined to actually say that was a good thing. But I was already bored shitless because this movie is so long. But before getting into that, staying on Timon and Pumbaa, there is one joke I will say is the positive of this movie, where they did make one self-referential joke that worked for me, and that's when Timon and Pumbaa have to distract the hyenas. In the original, they do the hula dance thing. In this, they start singing Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast. You got one, movie. You got one. But again, that one joke near the end of the movie is not enough to carry the fact that somehow this is a shot-for-shot remake, but it's also a half hour to 45 minutes longer than the original. How do you do that? Now, they did basically the same thing with Aladdin, where they just, extended out certain sequences, and they added a couple of sequences to more of comic relief than actual flesh anything out. But I didn't feel that those were terrible. Here, though, they're literal shit. And I mean that in literal shit, because there's an entire sequence of a dung beetle rolling a ball of shit for like a full minute and a half that does not need to be there. It's just a stupid sequence where a tuft of Simba's fur from Grown Up, flies on the wind and Rafiki catches it. In the original, it's basically a cutaway, and he catches it out of the wind, if I remember right. In this, no, we have to watch this fur, go through the water, fall down, get lapped up here, blown away, onto a tree, and eaten by a giraffe, only to have a dung beetle come and roll that giraffe poop around with the tuft of fur in it perfectly fine. Like the digestive juices wouldn't have broken that shit down and destroyed it. It's unnecessary. You're extending the scene out for no reason. And frankly speaking, as beautiful as your movie is, how photorealistic it is, your shit looks like shit. And I'm going to call it shit. Okay? You may have made it look realistic, but it's still shit. Oh, but it gets even better. They extend out I'm Gonna Be King, or whatever the name of that song is, for a full minute to give John Oliver basically a minute of stand-up, and he fails at it pretty badly. But then they get to Be Prepared, one of the best villain songs in Disney canon, and they cut it down to 30 seconds. And it's all basically shot in the dark, hazy, with really bad... You can tell they didn't put much effort into CGI, because you didn't need to see this section, because it's all dark and crap. And it's just... You cut the best thing down in your movie to 30 seconds, and you shot it in a scene that is garbage. Favreau, I have to ask, why did you even leave this song in there if you didn't want to actually make it a song sequence? I'm genuinely curious. If it's only 30 seconds, then play it as an instrumental in the background and just have it be a talking scene. Kind of what this whole movie feels like. It feels like they want to try to extend out the parts that people liked, but then cut down the parts that they didn't like. But the truth is, all of these parts were very well paced in the original. This movie's pacing is slow. And normally I don't mind slow burns. I don't mind if a movie's 3 hours or 3.5 hours as long as it doesn't feel like it's 3.5 hours. The problem is this movie is 2.5 hours and it feels like it's 4.5. It takes so long to get to every scene, and because it's almost shot for shot in a lot of these sequences, it feels like I'm just waiting to get to the next plot point that I remember. Because, that's all it is. It's faked nostalgia. I don't really see this as being better in any way. I can't even say that Timon and Pumbaa are better. They're basically the same as they were before. They're the funny comic relief. They had jokes that made me laugh back in the original. They have some jokes that make me laugh in this one. That's it. What is different? You somehow made this longer, so there should be more in here. But again, most of that length is just extending out these sequences that don't need to be there. Like Rafiki drawing, the Simba thing. Inside of this new version, it's all the bugs are starting to coalesce on one spot on his tree. And, he takes a bug here, bug here, bug here, and then he blows dust over them. And then when he brushes the bugs away, it forms the little lion face. You added a good 30-40 seconds to this for this weird sequence. You couldn't just, have him stick his finger in paint and draw it like he did before? Where's the difference? I mean, hell, you basically had him do that when he does the mane with the red powder, so why? And again, Rafiki is, cut from this movie. He is barely in it. And a lot of the life lesson shit that he had in the original is gone. He doesn't do the famous, smacks Simba scene and just goes, hey, that hurt. I know, it hurt. But it was in the past, so it's okay. That stuff, it's all cut. He's cut down to the barest minimum that he can be in this movie. And again, they extend out other sequences. I'm sorry, were you trying to save time or are you trying to fill time? You're doing both of these at the same time, and I can't tell why. And you know what? It's very easy to compare this movie to its original because, the original is better. Let's instead compare it to one of the live-action remakes that Jon Favreau also did, Jungle Book. With the Jungle Book, everything looked like it was actually there because they mixed in this photorealistic CGI with real people and real sets. Whenever Mowgli is running on the top of a tree, they usually gave him an actual tree branch to run across, and they built around that and made sure that it all flowed and looked great. It always felt like these characters had character because these animals were still allowed to be, photorealistic, but emote, move their eyes around in ways they're not supposed to, smirk, smile. Bill Murray Bear is still 100% more realistic and frankly charismatic than anything inside of this movie. Whether it be the other comic reliefs like Timon and Pumbaa or freaking Zazu or Rafiki, because they let him emote and actually get, have expressions and move his mouth around and do shit. I'm sorry, but none of that is in this movie. They took the Jungle Book in different directions from its original. Whether they were taking different aspects of the original source material, I'm not sure, and doing that, or just doing weird off-the-wall shit, like having Christopher Walken sing in the middle of this giant action sequence. As much as that is jarring, it's something different. It's something enjoyable. It's something that they took something and they're trying something new. There's none of that here. Everything goes exactly where it was before, and frankly speaking, it has less emotion because nobody is allowed to actually emote. Everything has to look like a real lion or a real cub. I'm sorry, you ruined Mufasa's death because, frankly speaking, this cute little kitty cat is only going to look cute like a cute little kitty cat. You can't get around that unless you're willing to actually make him not look like a cute kitty cat anymore. But they won't do that. This whole movie is pointless. It is infuriating, and it doesn't change the fact that apparently I'm the black sheep of my audience because everyone else was given standing ovations and shit. I'm like, really? This was boring garbage. You can go watch the original. It's a hell of a lot cheaper to own than going to a theater. And frankly speaking, it's done better. Hell, even the voice acting was done better. And Matthew Broderick was Simba. Remember that. So, yeah, after my little tirade rant of giving it some do's and don'ts, what's the overall verdict here? Pretty obvious. I'm gonna give this one a fuck it. There's no reason for it to exist. This is worse than a skip it. This is actively, honestly, kind of depressing and infuriating in its own way. It's not infuriating like Beauty and the Beast. It's infuriating because I don't see what people are seeing inside of this. I don't see how any of this is good. Timon and Pumbaa, okay, they got a couple of laughs. You got anything else? Because I can't wait an hour for them to show up inside of this 2.5 hour movie just so that I can get a couple of chuckles. It seems harsh, but honestly, Disney should be able to do films like this a hell of a lot better. If they wanted this being realistic, make it R. Go for the gore. Actually show these lions rip people apart. But they can't do that because, that'd be horrible. Or here's a better idea. How about, instead of, live action or CGI, make it live action and film actual tigers and things. No sound, or no speaking, no nothing. Just film them and then use music and clever editing to weave this narrative in there with everything. And tell a story non-verbally. Hell, you could even replace your stupid Earth Day nature documentary with this Lion King from the real world type thing. I mean, there, you'd actually have a gimmick, you'd actually have to put effort into it, and frankly speaking, it would be a lot more entertaining than this. Which is the biggest problem. This movie is not entertaining, which is enough for me to say it's a skip it. But it gets an honest to God fuck it because there's no reason to go to this. Literally just stealing your money at that point. And I am sick to death of these stupid live action remakes. I will give credit to Aladdin. Aladdin, if it was a stage play, I would have liked it a lot more than I did. But the problem was, it wasn't a stage play. It was a movie. And because they filmed it like it was a stage play, everyone facing one direction, cheating to the camera and crap like that, it just comes off as, frankly speaking, incompetent. Dumbo does have a right to exist. I'll give it that. Because the original was made in the 60s? Yeah, it's okay to remake that one. It's 70 years. Let's see what we can do. And they did. They told it from the human perspective, and it was basically carried by these kids. Unfortunately, the kids just sucked because, kid actors are flip a coin. But they couldn't carry the movie, and the movie fell apart. I'll give Dumbo credit, though, that it actually had a right to exist. But the Maleficents, the fucking Beauty and the Beast, these don't have any right to exist. And this one is just trying to steal your money. There's no reason to go to it. So, final verdict, this gets a fuck it. Do not go see this movie. Save your money and go see anything else right now. I'm trying to think of a kids movie that's out right now, but I can't. So I'm just going to say, go see Crawl. Crawl was a great thriller. It was a very enjoyable thriller, and it had no right to be, but it looked like Sam Raimi put fucking effort into it, and it paid off. So go see Crawl and skip this bull crap. Or beetle dung crap, like the movie wanted you to do. Well, that's it from me. Thank you for watching this video. Did you enjoy the review? Do you disagree? Leave your comments down below and maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Check out my live streams. I tend to do them once a week, though there isn't a set date. It's kind of leaning to every Thursday, but I might do one tomorrow if everything works out. Mostly just so that we can, go and get that bug catching contest. Just saying. And yeah, that's it for me, and I'll see you all next time. And it's good to be back.